Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is the Trump effect good or bad? The Trump effect. The battle between light and darkness has now begun, and it is raging more than ever. And as I've said many times, if you don't know you're in a battle, you're already losing, because all Christians are in a battle. Okay, so first of all, yes, I voted for and I love Donald Trump. I say that because I'm about to say some things that don't sound like it, okay? But he is not Jesus. He's not perfect. I believe he's the best president we've had in my lifetime. Probably the best president since Thomas Jefferson, possibly in the ballpark with Reagan, too. Also, I want to warn everybody out there, all the prophecy students, be cautious not to fall asleep because Trump is not going to fix everything. I think right now there's a strange silence in the spirit. A lot of the warnings that we have been getting, in other words, it was just like a torrential rain of warnings. Now, since Trump was inaugurated, I sense kind of a slowdown, but I want to be cautious. It's not over, okay? Some things that I was expecting to see by now, they haven't seen. Doesn't mean they've gone away. Like, for example, massive salvations in sports stadiums, massive arrests, fall of the dollar, suitcase nukes, Omar ushers in Palestinian state. We could very easily see this all by June 1st. So hang on. I'd like to think we're past it. I'd like to think we prayed it away. But it's darkest before the dawn. And also, it's probably the calm before the storm. I think that the devil's crowd, let me say it this way. Before the football game starts, we have the offense lined up against the defense, and there's a football sitting out there, and the kicker's about to run up and kick that football. In my opinion, when Trump raised his hand, and by the way, yes, I know he didn't put his hand on the Bible, but that was just an oversight because if you really look at it, the Supreme Court justice was kind of rushing him, and there was a little bit of helter-skelter there for a second. And, of course, the Bibles were right there. He just forgot to lift his hand. And his wife that was holding the Bibles should have said, honey, but I mean, all of a sudden, they were into giving the oath, and it would have interrupted the oath. So, no, I don't think it was an intentional thing where Trump was saying, I'm not going to put my hand on the Bible. He still took the same oath. The Bible's right there, just an inadvertent thing. If you look at it, it's just inadvertent. Okay. Now, my point is, I think that the offensive kicker, when he ran up and kicked the ball, that started the game, and that started when Trump said, I do. Okay. In other words, yes, I take this oath. And now we're in a battle. Right now, it looks like the light is winning. I know that on a lot of fronts, and I'm glad to see it. But if you think the light has won, you're deceived. If you think the devil, the god of this world, is going to lay down and roll over or go off quietly into the night, it's not going to happen, okay? All hell is about to break loose. And when I say that, every time I say that word, I got to get that word out of my lingo, because every time I say that word, I get an email. So when we say all hell is going to break loose, that means literally Hades, or that means the evil ones are about to attack. That's what I'm saying. It's not a cuss word, okay? It's an actual place. Now let's move on. I want to remind you that Joseph's Kitchen still has site-wide free shipping. I don't think they've ever done this, but this is a really big discount on everything. Right now, everything there, you can get free shipping on it. And since a lot of the things that they ship, the wheat and all that sort of stuff, are really heavy. I mean, a lot of times they come on pallets. So to get free shipping, that's a big deal. Joseph's, with an S, kitchen.com. Also, if you watched the program yesterday, I interviewed Jonathan Rose, and he's with Genesis Gold Group or prophecyclubgold.com. Get a hold of him, 800-200-GOLD. Also, if you want some prepper bars, there's the phone number. And if you want to, now for the first time, if you have crypto and you want to put that into an IRA for the first time, they've just set it up, you can call these guys, or actually you go to the website, blocktruστira.com, 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 and it'll tell you all about it. If you don't even understand crypto, he says that place will help you to understand it. Anyway, so here is the full list of presidential actions Trump signed on day one. Now, I'm not an expert in this, okay? I'm a Bible prophecy teacher. But I want to point out a couple of things. One is withdrawing the United States from the World Health Organization, and to that I will say the World Health Organization, based upon the things I've observed in my lifetime, has nothing to do with making the world healthy. It has to do with killing people. It's not a good organization. It's an organization that wants to bring in a world government, and if they can do it by a pandemic, that's exactly what they want to do. So I was shocked to see he withdrew from the World Health Organization. And if he calls me on my phone right there real soon, I'll say, and you need to do the same thing with the United Nations too. Application of Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act, TikTok. What do you think of TikTok? Okay, well, my agent recommended that I get TikTok and recommended that we get on TikTok. I never heard of TikTok, so I downloaded my cell phone. That night, I could not go to sleep. I had to get up out of bed and go and delete TikTok, and was sad that I ever got it on my phone. Because when I got on TikTok, I know what I was doing. Okay, so it asked me all these questions. Do you like this? Do you like this? I just skipped all of them. I'm just going to look around the app. And what popped up was a little girl pulling her clothes off after the little girl pulling her clothes off, and I kept flipping. This is terrible. That's the reason, I had to get off my phone because it was so much filth. It was like a cesspool coming into my mind and my heart. So what do I think of TikTok? I don't like it. I think it's a cesspool. Now, I understand that if I had probably signed up correctly and told what I was interested in, then that's what would have brought me. But the point is, here's another thing. So when I was at this prophecy conference here a few months back, one of the guys asked me to step in the hall for a 2-minute interview. Well, he asked me what I think about Israel, and I told him. And it got like 28,000 views in the next 3 days. Then they deleted it. And I asked him to go on, pull our programs down, and start making little TikTok things to put on TikTok, 2 or 3 minutes, or however that works. And this guy's an expert on it. And he said, as soon as I'd load it, they started deleting it. He said, Stan, I have 11 channels on TikTok. Every time I loaded yours, as soon as I was done loading it, it immediately deleted it, and it deleted all 11 of my channels. Why? Because they don't like Israel. They don't want to let anybody talk anything good about Israel. So, what do I think of TikTok? Take it off. Take it down. So I thought I'd give you my opinion on it. I think it's a cesspool. Granting pardons and commutation of sentences for certain offenses relating to the events at or near the United Nations Capitol on January 6, 2021. I listened to President Trump, boy, that feels good to say, President Trump, talk to Hannity, the whole interview, and he explained why he went ahead and pardoned all of them, and I thought he had a really good explanation, and I'm happy to see it, some 1,500 people. Now, I'm going to show you something here in just a second, if I get to it today. It doesn't look like I'm going to, but we will see. Putting America first in international environmental agreements. Well, first of all, there is no climate change. There is a scalar wave that is causing all of these floods and fires and droughts and tornadoes and all of this. It's all high technology trying to control the people, to bring us into a world government, to put their man, the Antichrist, on the throne. I know that. I understand that. And probably by now most of you do too. So what do I think of the environmental movement? Get rid of it. Delivering emergency price relief for American families and defeating the cost of living crisis. Good for you. Go for it. Hiring freeze. Well, again, if I were president, I would say, okay, if you voted for Harris, then I want your resignation. We may accept it. We may accept it in 30 days or so. But if you're in the federal government and you voted for Harris, I want your resignation. Turn it in. That doesn't mean that all of them will be gone, but probably most of them will be gone. Well, you wouldn't do that. Well, look, what did Obama do? That's exactly what Obama did to the conservatives. Regulatory freeze pending review. Okay, yeah, I think that they need to freeze the regulations, and they probably need to cut, not just for every new one, to cut 10. In my opinion, they probably need to cut about half of them. They need to do away with things like most of the FDA and replace it with good people, in my opinion. And I also think that what was it? Most of the regulations, I'll just say it that way. I could spend a whole program just talking about regulations. But regulations have hopefully you already know just how bad the regulations can be, worse than the laws. And then return to in-person work. Well, I think that there is a time and a place. As a matter of fact, our office is in Topeka, and I live in the DFW area. So I don't go into work every day. Of course, I live 8 steps from my bed, and the advantage of that is I live 8 steps from my bed. I mean, I'm right now, I'm 8 steps from my bed. The problem is I'm 8 steps from my bed. What does that mean? That means sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm working. It means that there's sometimes my wife will come in and say, don't you think it's about time you get done? You spend all day long in your office. I tend to be a workaholic. So there's a time and a place for not going into work. I can see that's efficient, but I think the reason that they're doing that is because they want to get to know these people that they're giving a paycheck to every week. And probably a lot of them, they need to be handed their walk-in papers, my opinion. Disloyal people, gone. And of course, I'd love to be able to say if they're not Christians, gone. But, can't exactly do that. Ending the weaponization of the federal government, agreed. Restoring freedom of speech and ending federal censorship, hallelujah. What we need to do now is to get YouTube to restore our channel because we were right. Matter of fact, I think what happened, and I don't have time to go into a lot of it, but I think we were about to hit 100,000 subscribers. And so they reviewed our channel. I think they had probably their AI run through our channel, everything I've said since it started. And they said, no, we don't like this. We don't want this sort of stuff out. And so they cooked up a not good reason and simply deleted the channel. Deleted it. We had spent about $50,000 advertising the channel. Did YouTube offer to refund that money? No, they didn't. Did they give us any kind of explanation? No, they didn't. Did they give us how it's supposed to work? You get one strike, and then I think you can't upload for 3 days, something like that. You get a second strike within 90 days, and they take you off for 2 weeks. You get a third strike within 90 days, and then they delete your channel. We got one strike, and so I said, okay, wait, we can't afford to lose the channel. Let's don't upload. We did not upload for 62 days. On the 62nd day, they just deleted the channel. We did not. I mean, you can't get a strike if you don't upload, right? Well, they went back 2 years to give us the strike. So, I mean, it seems to me like if they don't find it within, say, a week or so, then they don't give you a strike within a week or so, they need to let it go. But to go back 2 weeks, and by the way, I found out what I said. Of course, if I say it, they'll give me. But it had to do with inoculations. There you go. All right, so anyway, the point is, I think that we were not treated fairly. Securing our borders, of course. We need to do that. Protecting the meaning and value of American citizenship. This is talking about the people that just take a flight and maybe they don't even maybe they don't even get past customs. And the woman's pregnant, has a baby, and now it's an American citizen, so that means that they get to stay. And he's saying that he thinks he can change that. And I'm for people coming into America. I think that they should do it legally. Okay, let's go on to that. Realigning the United States Refugee Admissions Program. He just trying to straighten out some of this mess with all of the people wanting to come into America. Unleashing American energy. Well, I totally agree with drill, baby, drill, because that is a lot. Okay, since I've done some research, since I'm president and CEO of an oil company, I've done research on this. January the 11th, I think it was, maybe January 10th of 1901, Spindletop came in. And in those days, we were agrarian farmers. We were just a bunch of farmers and ranchers all across America. But when that oil well came in and it squirted for 9 days, 200 feet in the air, that one well sparked the search and discovery of massive amounts of oil all over America. That one well, Spindletop, changed America and brought us into the industrial age and made us the nation of wealth that we are today. And it needs to come back. When Lindsey Williams wrote his book, The American Non-Crisis, saying that there is no shortage of oil in America, he said that the oil company discovered an oil, what do you call it? Well, an oil well up in the North Slope of Alaska. And they calculated and they said this one oil well could supply all of the oil America needs for 100 years. We do not have an oil shortage. And I can remember the time when it was $3 a barrel. I just checked. It's now like $73 or $74 a barrel. Well, Trump's going to get that down. When that comes down, the prices on everything else can come down too. Clarifying the military's role in protecting the territorial integrity of the United States. In other words, he's going to send the military to see that our borders are secure and good for him. America's first trade policy, putting us first. I totally agree. Now, here's the way it is. So after World War II, all of the other nations of the world were like boats with holes in the bottom, and they were taking on water and they were sinking. America was the only boat that wasn't sinking. And so we ran over and helped them to patch their boats. We helped them to pump the water out of their boats. And then we started sending them food and water and help. But again, that was 80 years ago. Okay, now their boats are fixed. They've got boats as good as us, and we need to have a fair, level playing ground when it comes to trade. And I don't think anybody wants a trade war or a tariff war, but there's probably going to be some of that. And I think some of that's got to happen because there needs to be a fair trade policy, just like Trump is saying. And it should have been going on 50 years ago, not now. Memorandum to resolve the backlog of security clearances for Executive Office of the President personnel. So these guys that used to be good guys, some of them used to be bad guys, but they have security clearances. Those security clearances mean a lot of wealth to that person, but also means they get their foot through the cracks in the doors, and they can cause a lot of problems for our government, cause a lot of problems for our nation. And when they're not serving, I think that they should pull them, especially when the bad guys like this. I started to say his name. I'm not real good with their names because they're not in my world. I'm in the Bible prophecy world. Anyway, let's go on. Declaring a national emergency at the southern border of the United States, of course, that has to happen. Holding former government officials accountable for election interference and improper disclosure of sensitive governmental information. What's that? That means that there are going to be a massive arrest. I promise you, I heard words, massive arrests, massive arrests. So I feel like I have it, thus saith the Lord, massive arrests are coming, just like medical. And that's the reason I encourage you to get yourself some medical supplies. You do that at medicalrefuge.com. Put in the promo code prophecy, get you a $5 or 5% discount. Restoring accountability to the policy influencing positions within the federal workforce. In other words, making people do the right thing instead of always trying to stab America in the back. Protecting the American people against invasion. I think that still has to do a lot with immigration. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development Global Tax Deal. This is part of the tariffs. This is part of him leveling the playing field so that we aren't pumping money into all of the other boats that have been floating for 50 years. We don't need to help the whole world anymore. Right now, America needs some help itself. Organization of the National Security Council and subcommittees. I don't know. Reevaluating and realigning the United States foreign aid. There's a lot of nations we send billions of, if Trump were to call me, should we have sent any money to Ukraine? I'd have said no. Not a drop of blood, not a dollar. Why? Oh, well, because Ukraine are Nazis. We were fighting the Nazis in World War II, but now we're helping the Nazis. The origin of Nazis came from the Ashkenazi, that's where the word comes from, Ashkenazi Jews. Those are the Jews that say they're Jews, but are not, but do lie, Revelation. And they originated out of Kazakhstan. It's a long story about it. Anyway, these are some of the most, they're Moloch Baal worshippers directly. They're some of the most evil people in the world. Went from Kazakhstan to Ukraine, it spread through that whole area, then went to Switzerland and to Germany, and that's our boys back in World War II were fighting and getting killed by Nazis, or the Ashkenazis, or the Ukrainians. Temporary withdrawal of all areas on the outer continental shelf from offshore wind leasing and, so getting rid of the windmills. You know, if they would see that they're working, keep them in repair, and if they're not working, tear them down. If they have a way to, there's, at the end of the day, I just haven't seen that they're really all that good. Let's go on. So, yeah, I agree with that. Declaring a national energy emergency, totally. We need it. We need to get the oil out of the ground underneath our feet. Restoring accountability for career senior executives. What's he saying? He said there's a bunch of people need to hit the road. I need to tie the can to a bunch of people. Promoting beautiful federal civic architecture. I think that he might be talking about actually building some new statues that need to be built. But he's certainly talking about preventing the destruction of the old ones. Restoring the death penalty and protecting public safety. Now, I've got an article on that, and it doesn't look like I'm going to get to it today. But as Biden released some 37 people that were on death row, I've got an article, but we'll get to it. He's doing the opposite. He's trying to say, look, we need the death penalty, in my opinion. I just read it the other day. The Bible says, he who sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. Boom. Now, yes, it's Old Testament, but that's a pretty good way to keep the evil down, because evil raises its head up unless you keep cutting it off. And this is simply him trying to restore the death penalty. I agree. Putting people over fish, stopping radical environmentalism. I agree. To provide water to Southern California. What I'd like to see happen is they get up their backhoes and their bulldozers and they go down and they correct that water that has been redirected out of going to California and redirected out into the Pacific Ocean, to have it redirected to go back to California and have that done by the end of the week. Or if it can be done, as soon as it can be done, get it done. And if California doesn't like it, cut off their funds. If Newsom doesn't like it, cut off the funds to California. They'll start towing the line real quick. guaranteeing the state's protection against invasion, again, illegal immigrants. Restoring names that honor American greatness. He's talking about calling Mount McKinley again. And there was another one I can't remember off the top of my head. Designating cartels and other organizations as foreign terrorist organizations, and specifically designated global terrorists. He has sent 1,500 Marines to our southern border, and they are going fully loaded. They're not going down there empty-handed. And they've said, if we're fired at, we will return fire. So, I mean, I can see one of the nations that's going to attack America going to be on the side with the Russians attacking us as Mexico. These sort of things that we allowed to get out of line a long time ago, Trump is trying to bring them back in line, are about to make a lot of people mad. They like living in their sin. Most people like their sin. Well, I've run out of time. But again, if you can help us, Prophecy Club is tied again. If you can help us, God bless you, we'd really appreciate it. When the suitcase nukes, I didn't say if, I said when the suitcase nukes go off, if you want your car to start, if you want your computers and your refrigerators and things like that, anything with a computer chip to work, you want to have one of these from EMPShield.com. EMPShield.com. And they have videos up there. It takes about 10 minutes to put on. It's not complicated at all. And if you use the word prophecy, promo code prophecy, you get a $50 discount, and it helps your Prophecy Club. If you don't want to lose your life's savings, if you have an IRA or a 401k, the thing to do is call 800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. These folks are Christians, and they specialize in helping people not lose their life savings in the event of a stock market crash and things like that. Look, most of the 401ks, most of the IRAs are in paper, backed by paper, and as Lindsey Williams says, if it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You can lose it all. 1-800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. Hey, give them a call. Doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything. See if they can give you some good advice. We've got a new sponsor. It's sat123.com. Sat123.com. I'm amazed at what this company offers. They got satellite phones. They've got Wi-Fi hotspots where you can have internet any place. So suitcase nukes go off in your city. If you don't have to worry about that, you still have electricity. It can go right up and connect to a satellite. They also have marine satellite internet. They also have satellite radios so that you can talk back and forth, even though, in other words, it's not a phone, it's a radio, but it's satellite. So go check it out, satellite123.com. And if you use the promo code PROPHECY, there are several different kinds of discounts.